As the new coronavirus continues to spread, people around the globe are anxious to know when we might have a vaccine to stop it. A vaccine will be the ultimate weapon against the coronavirus and the best route to normal life. While some are hopeful one might be available by year's end or early 2021, as many people estimate a vaccine could arrive at least 12 to 18 months. But the grim truth behind this rosy forecast is that a vaccine is probably won't arrive anytime soon. We have never released a coronavirus vaccine for human before. Our record for developing an entirely new vaccine is at least 4 years, more time than the public or economy can tolerate is social distancing orders. But if there was any time to fast track a vaccine, it is now. So how much time would be needed to develop a vaccine for COVID-19? Let's find out. As for understanding the phenomena, one should ask what would a COVID-19 vaccine do? When you come into contact with viruses or bacteria, your body's immune system makes antibodies to fight them off. A vaccine forces your immune system to make antibodies against a specific disease, usually with a dead or weakened form of the germs. Then if you come into contact with them again, your immune system knows how to fight with them. So a vaccine against COVID-19 would slow its spread around the world, fewer people would get sick, and more lives could be saved. Vaccines normally require years of testing and time to build up production volume. The WHO has said it doesn't expect widespread vaccination against COVID-19 until mid-2021, but even that optimistic. Generally, vaccine approval takes about 8 to 10 years, but now the process is supposed to go much faster. As Dr. Peter Hort said, if you want to make that 18 months time frame, one way to do that is put as many horses in the race as you can. The World Health Organization is now tracking about 590 plus therapies and more than 170 candidate vaccines. Despite the unprecedented push for a vaccine, researchers caution that less than 10% of the drugs that enter into the clinical trials are ever approved by the Food and Drug Administration. The rest is fail in one way or another. They are not effective, don't perform better than existing drugs, or have too many side effects. Fortunately, the outbreaks of SARS and MERS, which was also caused by coronaviruses, spurred lots of research. SARS and SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, are roughly 80% identical, and both use so-called spike proteins to grab onto a specific receptor found on the cells in human lungs. This helps explain how scientists developed a test for COVID-19 so quickly. However, there is a cost to moving so quickly. The potential COVID-19 vaccine now in the pipeline might be more likely to fail because of the swift march through the research phase, said Robert Van Exen, a cell biologist who has worked in the vaccine industry for decades. He predicts we won't see a vaccine approved until at least 2021 or 2022, and even then, this is very optimistic and relatively low probability. Even though these speedy developments seem like a piece of good news and gives us hope that we may be able to see the end of the pandemic in the near future. But experts are not really sure if the first vaccine we see will be able to defeat COVID-19. From the costing, production, safety, and efficacy, there are a lot of factors into play which decide how helpful a vaccine under development really is. More than that, vaccines in general take a lot of time to develop, passing through large-scale clinical trials, meeting safety standards, and getting necessary approvals before being pushed out for the public use. In the past, the fastest rollout of an approved vaccine is the mumps vaccine, which took close to 4 years to get all necessary permissions and licensing. So realistically, how long will it really take for us to see a vaccine ready to battle the novel coronavirus pandemic. Let us tell you the different stages of vaccine development. In phase 1, testing the vaccine is given to a small group of people to see if it is effective. Phase 2 involves a somewhat larger research group to test dosages, and in phase 3 the vaccine is given to thousands of people to make sure it's effective. And phase 4 is the final phase of vaccine development, but so far there are no successful candidates. Phase 1 clinical trials. In stage 1, the vaccine is tested on a small group of volunteers, usually 20 to 40 healthy ones, belonging to the age category of 18 to 55. As with a lot of COVID-19 vaccine trials happening right now in this stage, people with pre-existing conditions or those from the higher risk category are barred from being tested on. Following set protocols, participants are then dosed with the vaccine to test its safety and observe its working on the immune system. Phase 2 of testing. In stage 2 of vaccine testing, mid-scale testing takes place. This phase usually involves a larger pool of candidates, which can even run into several hundred, who are then split into focus groups of children, healthy, adults, or elders, depending on the same different dosing schedules or device. Several studies are done to study the safety, immunoresponse. Time is taken to trigger a reaction or side effects, if any. This is also often referred to as a critical stage of vaccine development, since makers usually study the actual safety and other protocols pertaining to vaccine delivery in this mid-scale trial. A lot of vaccine groups are in this phase of testing. Phase 3 trials. Once the mid-scale trials end, now comes stage 3 of vaccine trial, which is the most crucial and the most tricky ones. The pool of participants under study is larger. More than 1,000 people are involved in this phase of development, which makes it easier to detect side effects and see the pros and cons. This phase of testing also involves administering placebo to sample how many catch the infections as compared to those on a placebo drug, and then ultimately test if the vaccine being developed will really be able to prevent infections such as COVID-19. Phase 4 are final phase of vaccine development. Once the actual testing phases are over, it is time to tabulate the data from the study, get final results, and proceed on to licensing forms and approval from the authorities. This phase takes a lot of time to happen. However, considering the urgency of the situation at hand, all COVID-19 vaccines are being fast-tracked for approval. Regulatory authorities inspect the vaccine, the factory for production, any partner companies approve the labeling before actually providing the green signal for authorization and public use.